Canada is a mess and it needs to be fixed badly. So joining us now is Maxime Bernier, I think I said that correctly, People's Party of Canada.ca. The election is on April 28th. Welcome, sir. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you very much, Charlie. I'm very pleased to be with you. That's a nice opportunity. Yes, I'm the leader of the People's Party of Canada. We are the populist, the free market political party that is fighting to keep and preserve our country and our Western civilization values. That movement in Canada, the populist movement, is growing, and we are in the middle of an election right now here in Canada. The election day will be April 28th. Not next Monday, but the Monday after. So I want to thank you because we are like, other populist party in Europe, canceled by the mainstream media. My goal is to speak about our platform and explain to Canadians that there's only way to save this country is to end the mass immigration. That's something that is happening in Canada. We have mass immigration, and we are the only political party at the national level that is ready to have a moratorium on immigration to preserve our country.
Yeah, so talk more about that. What is it about Canada that Canada currently seems at least united with the Liberal Party about having foreigners come and replace native Canadians? Explain to our viewers the scale of this mass migration.
Yes, actually, Canada, we are 40 million people here in Canada, and the growth of our population last year was 2.7%. And if you compare that with the growth of the population in Western countries, that was 0.5%. So the growth of our population was 5 times bigger than the average growth of the Western countries. And actually, if you look at the data, 97% of the growth of our population is coming from immigration. So that is the replacement theory in action. If you have that for a couple of years, that will be the end of our country. So that's important. And actually, 70% of Canadians are saying we must end mass immigration. But the two main political parties, the Conservative Party of Canada, they're fake conservative. And like in US, you have the Republican and the Rhino, Republican in name only. The Conservative Party of Canada is like that. They are conservative in name only. The Conservative and the Liberals, both of them are okay with mass immigration. So our position is to end that, because it's destroying the social fabric of our country. And, we are immigrants coming from Asia and other countries who don't share our values. We are bringing people from third world countries. And when you're doing that, your country, Canada, will become a third world country. And that's happening right now.
It is. So I want to play a piece of tape here that is from you with Tucker Carlson. And let's go here to your discussion with, let's play cut 357 as a nice segue.
And our position is, we won't have any impact on the politics in Middle East. That's you in US who will have the greater impact there. So that's why I'm saying I don't want to speak about that. That's not our issue. And same thing for the war in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine, I was the only leader saying, no, we must not participate in that war. But Poilievre and Trudeau at that time and now Carney, they are pro-war and they are pro, the war in Ukraine. And actually right now, President Trump, he's doing the right thing. Try to have a peace deal with Russia.
And talk a little bit about that, but also just more broadly. I mean, in Canada, there's TikTok videos about third worlders that show up to food banks in Canada and just take all the food, which is just third world behavior. Is there a grassroots movement in Canada that is rising up against this?
Yes, absolutely. It's happening, right now. I'm in Alberta and I'm in Edmonton. I did a rally yesterday. We had a lot of people. People are fed up. Canadians are very polite. But when we speak about immigration, what they don't like, it's for the mainstream political parties, it is not an issue. But you're right. These foreigners who are coming to our country are bringing with them their, conflicts, their internal conflicts in their country of origin on our streets. And people are fed up with that. We have more and more people that are saying, enough is enough. And actually, that's why I think that this election must be on immigration. But the mainstream parties are doing everything for the election to be against Trump, President Trump. Like I said in that segment, they are pro-wars. I'm the only one who's pro-peace and prosperity. Like, we were saying no to the war in Ukraine. Actually, the federal government spent $20 billion that they gave to Ukraine. That is, a corrupt government. And we have huge deficit here. We need to stop that. But you're right, it's coming, because when I started to speak about immigration in 2019, that was our first electoral campaign. We created the People's Party in 2018. So in 2019, I was saying we need to control our immigration. And the mainstream media were saying, oh, Bernier is a racist. He doesn't have the right to speak about that. But I was right at that time. The People's Party was right at that time. And now, we need to have that moratorium. And the mainstream media are not speaking about mass immigration because they don't want that to be an important discussion during that election. Shame on them.
So talk about the conservative opposition, Pierre Poilievre. I'm sure I'm butchering that pronunciation. What is your thoughts on his candidacy?
Pierre Poilievre was a real conservative during the leadership contest when he wanted to be the leader of the Conservative Party. He was speaking like a conservative. But now Pierre Poilievre wants to be the Prime Minister of Canada, and he tries to please to everybody, and he's pandering to the left. So Poilievre right now, just for example, on immigration, he is for another 250,000 foreigners a year, every year, plus international students, plus temporary foreign workers, plus refugees. That will be about 1.5 million foreigners over 3 years for a country of 40 million people. So Poilievre is like the Liberals on that issue. Poilievre is like the Liberal also on climate change. We had a debate yesterday here in Canada on national TV, and Poilievre said that CO2 is a pollutant. We need to capture CO2. We need to be part of the Paris Accord and do everything to fight climate change. For Poilievre and Carney is the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, we are in the middle of a climate crisis. We are not. We want to do like what President Trump did, withdraw from the Paris Accord, and we don't want to spend any money to try to change the climate. So on immigration, climate change, and on also, being a real fiscal conservative, for Poilievre and Carney, they're okay with huge deficit, and they are telling Canadians that they won't balance the budget. Here in Canada, just for your viewers, Justin Trudeau, the former Liberal leader and our former Prime Minister, double our debt that we accumulated over 148 years. Over 148 years, we accumulated a debt in Canada of $600 billion. And Trudeau, in only 9 years, was able to double that to $1,200 billion. So big debts, big deficit, and now we are paying in Canada the inflation tax. We have inflation, and with that commercial war against the US that we won't win, we are imposing more taxes on Canadians. So on these issues, Poilievre and Carney are the same. They believe in big deficit, huge debts, and that's not the solution. We need to be fiscally responsible. We need to do like President Trump is doing in the US, being sure to control our expenses. And I said, we need to downsize the federal government, to have a smaller government in Ottawa, to give more freedom to Canadians and more autonomy to
So-
our provinces here in Canada.
1 minute remaining. What does polling show? Are you guys gaining momentum? And educate the audience on how short the window is in Canadian politics.
Yeah, we still have 10 days before the election, and that's going well. I can tell you we have a momentum. The mainstream media won't speak about that, and we may make history at this election. We may have our first candidate elected in Parliament. As you know, it's a little bit more difficult because we are in a parliamentary system. It is first past the post. There's no proportionality in our electoral system. But that being said, we have a momentum. I believe that we'll be able to elect our first candidate and start that common sense revolution in Parliament after that election.